After Donald Trump announced his federal funding freeze, Democrats jumped into action, not only to warn and comfort communities and individuals who did not know what would be next in the coming days or even the coming hours for them, people wondering if they will be able to have their health care, people wondering if they would be able to eat that night. But Democrats also jumped into action to message against what has already been a disastrous start to this Trump administration. Only a few short days, which have felt like very, very long days, and yet so much damage has been done. And one of the best Democrats delivering this message was Governor Tim Walz, someone who should be vice president right now. And when you watch his takedown of Donald Trump that has left him furious, you will know exactly why, if you don't already. And we are going to get into that. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video. And if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way and it really means the world to me. Now, let's hear what Governor Walz had to say today.
Good afternoon, everyone. Glenn, thank you. Thank you for your leadership. I've been a proud member myself of many years of the YMCA. I know the work that you do for our communities, especially with young people. Thank you to the Lieutenant Governor for being here. You're going to hear from her. You're going to hear from the Attorney General, who has some action steps that are being put in play. And then, while not proactively speaking, will be here to help us with this is Minnesota Management Budget Commissioner Aaron Campbell and Anna Mengi here as our Budget Director. So the folks that are over there to help us answer this. Look, we're here today to talk about this. Donald Trump's reckless action cut off funding to law enforcement, farmers, schools, child care, veterans, and health care. While he was out golfing, he threw the country into crisis. This is not bold. It's not leadership. It's stupid, buffoonish, childish of exactly what they did. Child care providers across the state, law enforcement, our prisons, things that we count on, individuals on Medicare, things that we know matter to people's lives. And I want to be very clear about this. Minnesota is a state that pays far more into the federal government than we get back. Those are our dollars that he is stealing unconstitutionally. Congress, as I served, as Attorney General Ellison served, appropriates the dollars. This is so far beyond the pale to try and pull these dollars back. And the real thing about this was he has no idea. I understand this. Donald Trump has no idea the implications on this. The folks who did it very well know. This is right out of those 900 pages in their Project 2025 to undermine this country. It will not stand. It cannot stand. And I have asked our members of Congress. I've spoken with Senator Klobuchar and Smith. I've spoken with Representatives McCollum and Craig. Left messages for our other members to get on this. I have heard nothing other than Representative Emmer saying he 100% agrees with this, and this is what the American public voted for. Not a mandate to defund the YMCA, to cut funding to hospitals, to cut funding to law enforcement. Never again will the Minnesota press ever write a story about law enforcement funding without adding that Tom Emmer cut funding to police in what he supported in this. It's an outrageous power grab. It undermines Minnesotans, and I want to tell you, we are here to do all we can to protect Minnesotans, but I cannot promise you that we can make up the nearly $2 billion a month of our money that is being held illegally by the Trump administration. Dollars that make a difference in the things that we do. I would suggest that Representative Emmer stand up for the Constitution, stand up for the House of Representatives, be more concerned about helping Minnesotans than flying on Air Force One next to the president, and get this work done that needs to be done. We will do everything in our power to make sure we can fill the hole. I continue to say that to folks. MMB, our folks that are there, our agencies, the Attorney General's office, organizations and nonprofits across the state. Most folks were up all night last night as we dealt with this being thrown on there with no guidance. I know you have a lot of questions. I have a lot of questions because not one damn person thought this through. I'm hearing within the last few minutes, oh, no, the Medicare thing was just a fluke. It's unrelated to this. That is bullshit. There is absolutely no way they didn't know exactly what they were doing. We were trying to submit a $350 million reimbursement to make sure that our finances, which, by the way, we pay our bills, I pay my bills, we balance the budget in this state, I balance my budget, we couldn't submit that because of what they did. That is reckless. It's putting our credit rating in our good standing. It doesn't surprise me because this is a guy who never paid his bills, never ran a business that worked. This is not Trump stakes. This is the state of Minnesota and its people's lives. These are children in there expecting to come here, parents expecting to put them there, and now to be put at risk over this just reckless proposal or whatever this is. It was not even well thought out. But again, the folks behind it, they know what they're doing. So my words on this are going to be simple to the Trump administration. We'll see you in court. And I would just say before we take questions on this, just to be clear, agencies are preparing to implement. because unlike Donald Trump, we follow the law, and we will follow the law as it's put. And I want to make note of this, understanding the position that I'm in. I understand that the people voted, and Kamala Harris and I lost an election to Donald Trump. 77 million people voted for him. That's 23% of the population. That is not a mandate to squash the Constitution. It's not a mandate to break the law. It's not a mandate to throw out all of the things that we know make this country works well. I will work with this administration where we work with them and where they're lawful and it's in the interest, but this is not one of those. This is not one of those places. This is an illegal power grab meant to hurt the public. Why he golfs, and the sycophants in Congress apparently. Why have a Congress if they're not there to do it? Just let him appropriate. Let him decide where the money goes. You don't need Congress. That's their major responsibility. That's their number one responsibility. And they seem fine. But Tom Emmer says perfectly fine. This is what we voted for. All right. I want to go back. St. Cloud, you vote to cut funding to your police. Did you vote it to cut the funding to the prison out there? Did you vote it for the Head Start? Did you vote to cut the money for the hospitals? Because that's exactly what they did. So with that, we've got more questions and answers. Minnesotans know that we will do our best. Again, I tell you that. We'll be prepared for this. Trying to cash flow this and fill the gap is very, very difficult because of the size of what they've done. With that, yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned the urgency of this, and you bring up everyone who's affected. For Minnesotans out there that woke up with this news that find out they're also affected or question they're going to be, do you have any suggestions for them? And how they can act?
Yeah, and I think this is the coming here, and it's much like we don't know all those answers. I can tell you we've got folks that worked all night on this. We've got agencies and partners, governors. I was on the phone last night with governors. We're on with the National Governors Association. That is the bipartisan group that works together. I do not know if they've gotten out a statement yet. They were working on it as of yesterday. The Attorney General's associations are working on this together, and I think the thing many of you in this room have figured out on this too is, you think you're in a red state, things are okay? Things are not okay in red states because they're more dependent on federal services. They have more people in poverty, have less state services to provide for them. So I need to see some governors show some courage in these states, stand up and make the case and stand up, and I think that will happen. So we'll just tell them, keep watching the news. We'll try and get it out. As the commissioner said, we're not exactly certain. I do know we had a reimbursement in the tune of about $350 million that was rejected this morning. It is. They defunded the police, and they said it was okay with them. Like, I don't know how many times I can scream this, and we're working, we're trying. I'm being very judicious last week of things that are coming out there, understanding how we make this, but this is outrageous. So let's be clear, and that puts us at risk. Programs that are at risk, we haven't even touched on, because we don't know the extent of this. The things that don't go directly through the straight, like NIH funding. If you get funding cut to a research project that's 7 years in the making, and they don't get the funding, that's the end of that. You don't just get to go back and put the money back in it again. So we're in contact with our nonprofits. We saw they were out there, in contact with the university, in contact with the Mayo Clinic, but it's just another one of those, that it's just, I don't ever think, and that's why we came here, and I appreciate you all coming down here, that the decision he made impacted those little ones downstairs. It impacted those teachers that are there. It impacted the family. This is what they never, it's always fun and game to talk about cuts until you want to be specific about it, and they never do that.
Going back to the budget, you've got enough going on with the House not functioning. I mean, where do you see the budget going? I mean, should Minnesotans be worried about it, dragging on, going to a special session? How does this impact that?
Here in Minnesota? No, I would encourage them. The Supreme Court made it clear last week that the illegal power grab needed to end. We all know it's 67-67. Get back together. Now more than ever, we need them in there, because we're going to need some help. When these things go through, and I assume he's going to continue on with what he's doing, we're going to need the Minnesota legislature to be there to provide some of that firewall, and we're going to need some help. So I fully expect them to get back to work. As far as our budget of putting out there, yeah, it's going to be dramatically impacted because we're dependent on those foreign funds, or those federal funds. And I don't know how many times, and I hope this story gets out there, Minnesota is a state that pays more in. These are our tax dollars that we already paid. Our duly elected members of Congress enacted them. It was signed into law by the president, and we are now paying the bills on those things. And he said no. I know why he went bankrupt. You've got to pay your bills. This is not going forward. This is not other things. And the vagueness is that it has communist or Marxism in there. I guess that's our roads. I got to tell you, nobody built a private road in this state. He's right. We collectively built those roads together. Is that what we're supposed to interpret? That we can't spend any money on roads because it has communist undertones or whatever the nonsense in their letter was? This isn't even Banana Republic territory. This is beyond that, what they've done. Why do you think these portals came back on right now? Because the American public said, are you out of your damn minds? And everybody said it, so they came back. These people control our nuclear weapons. These people make decisions with our allies. This is a great example of the ineptitude and chaos. This is not conservatism. This is not anything. This is just amateur hour cruelty and throwing things at. Can you imagine how much money this has cost? We have hundreds of people today that were focused on this, and that's happening across the country. So look, to the public here in Minnesota, this is not how things work. I know there are conservatives out there who disagree with this type of chaos and things. It's clear they're already hearing the backlash on this. But at the end of the day, it's what they do in the quiet. It's what they do when you're not watching. They made it very clear on this. They do not care about the well-being. They sure the hell don't care about the price of eggs. They care about a whole lot of other things that don't impact positively people in Minnesota. And that's why the team here, why folks in Minnesota, why I encourage the legislature, have the Republicans come back, get your power sharing agreement, and let's get moving to move things forward. That's what Americans expect, not this chaos. So thank you all for coming out.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming. Thanks.
Like I said, if you were confused for any reason, and I don't know why you would be if you watch this channel, why that man right there should be vice president instead of J.D. Vance, now you know. And it's so painful to watch Trump out playing golf and rage posting about Jim Acosta or Mark Milley, while tens of millions, no, hundreds of millions of Americans are worried for what's next. People who were promised lower prices now don't know if they'll have their SNAP benefits. People who were promised cheaper rents now don't know if they could pay their rent under Donald Trump. Fear, chaos, concern, confusion, constantly. That is what this administration is already. And we need Tim Walz. We need Jasmine Crockett. We need Chris Murphy. We need AOC. We need Jamie Raskin, Governor Newsom stepping up right now, and they are. And we are going to try to do that on this channel as well, delivering the message not only to settle this confusion, but to help fight our way out of this chaos. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button. You can leave a like on this video. And if you stuck around to the end, you can drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.